Hi, welcome to another Power Blast podcast. I'm so honored and excited to bring this special guest to you. Darin Olien is going to share his wisdom and insights on a variety of topics from traveling the globe in search of high nutrient superfoods, living a super life, 3 simple things that people can do to live healthy, what goes into the ultimate superfood shake. He'll talk about GMO, water, and special projects that he's working on. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, Perry Tinsley here, creator of the Power Blast podcast and owner of PutYourselfFirst.com. I'm a health and fitness coach that's helped thousands of people get started on their health and fitness journey. We've got Crookshanks in the house that just climbed on my lap for those of you that are on video. And today I'm super excited to share an interview with you that I did to have Darin Olien come on here and share with you his wisdom. He's known as the Indiana Jones of finding ultimate superfoods, and he's the co-creator of Shakeology and Ultimate Reset. He's a superfood hunter, the author of that awesome book called SuperLife. You got to check that one out. And he's an environmental activist. So I just want to let you know that this is a 4-part series. So this is the first part. It's the longest of the series. It's a 4-part series, and so be on the lookout for upcoming episodes. And in this particular episode, Darren's going to dig into the ultimate superfood shake called Shakeology, and it will most likely answer a lot of your questions that you probably have. I know it did for me. And so let's get to the interview. All right. Hey, Darren, welcome to the Power Blast podcast. So glad to have you on, buddy. And sorry to hear about the mishap this weekend, but so glad that you could make it on and be able to share quite a few things. How you doing?
I am happy to be here, man. Look forward to get into it.
That's awesome. So I know your story's out there, and it'd be very easy just to point people and say, hey, go and Google Darin Olien. But why don't you just kind of give a recap? You are known as, and I'm just pulled this right off. I'm sure you've got a lot more accolades, but the co-creator of Shakeology and Ultimate Reset, Superfood Hunter. What do they call you? The Indiana Jones of superfoods or something like that. Author of SuperLife. That book is totally awesome. And an environmental activist. Anything else that you I may have missed?
It's just, there's a lot of things I'm involved in, but we can talk about hints of that. I launched a superfood conservancy that's dedicated to preserving, helping, supporting indigenous people and farmers around the planet, as well as the environment, so that the quality of botanicals and superfoods are get better, not worse. So that's an exciting adventure for me. I'm involved right now in some stem cell research based on nutritional compounds that turn on immortal stem cells within the body, and involved in a lot of environmental technologies, doing a lot of projects with the Navajo Nation in the Four Corners area. Yeah, there's a few things.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So you're involved in a lot of things, and obviously it probably wasn't always an interest for you right at the beginning. So how did you become so interested in superfoods and then wanting to travel the world to search for really great ones? How you even find out and discover things that many of us have never heard about and can really benefit from? I'll turn it over to you there.
Yeah, well, I would say it comes down to one word: curiosity.
Okay.
So for me, the curiosity started as a young kid. I was premature. I had a bunch of health issues, and I always felt fragile and weak and having kind of weird things happen. I broke through a lot of that stuff, but then when I got hurt playing college football, it kind of, the maturity based on an issue, based on something that I cared about that I couldn't do anymore, and I lost my father a few years later. It just kind of collided into this world of like I'm very fascinated with the body. And the more that I learned and got educated about it, the more the curiosity turned into passion, which then turned into purpose. And to be forever curious about this relationship that we have just as conscious beings running around this somewhat dangerous planet. We need all the help we can get. And I really was fascinated by the convergence of how the plants were allies to us to help us thrive on this green earth, right? So as I learned more, I got more curious. And for me, I'm a tactile kind of blue collar Minnesota kid. So it didn't make sense to me to sit behind a computer and do research. It made sense to me to go there, learn from the people, make connections, understand and learn how indigenously and epidemiologically, meaning over the long spans of time that cultures and people have used these things, that it was my responsibility, I felt, that I really needed to feel it, so that if someone asked me, I could say, well, I was there, and I saw how it was grown. I saw how it was processed. I understand. And I also gathered people around me that are really smart to inform me on things that I don't know about. So it comes down to curiosity. And so it just so happens that the curiosity of helping the planet, helping the indigenous people by way of doing things correctly and sustainably, you get a better quality product whereby that person who can consume the ingredient or botanical, they're going to have greater benefit because you're going to keep intact that essence that is why that plant was largely used for so many years. So that was, and that still is, incredible passion and curiosity of me, because I can never learn it all, but I can keep showing up and keep being a student and keep passing on that information.
Wow. Okay. So just hearing that story, I mean, besides getting tingles down my spine, so bring it back to, when did you first, what was the first travel thing that you went to, or what was the first resource that you came across that I'm like, I got to find out more about this? Or was it a combination of things? I'm sure it's been a process over the years.
Yeah, it's a combination of things. I think I started formulating stuff maybe in 2000, from 2000 to 2004, and I was playing with herbs, like literally playing with them, like getting my hands dirty. And I went from researching and studying them to using them on a very intimate basis. And then that I started giving my formulas away and seeing people's reactions and seeing the benefits. And it was then when I lost my father in 2005 that I was like, okay, enough messing around. Let's actually take this to the world. And I had every intention of just doing it myself, because I was finding things that no one's seen before, they didn't have access to, they didn't know about, and there was a lot of benefits. So I was formulating with things that largely were being lost in culture. So a lot of the culture was, from my first trips, were India, ashwagandha, Himalayan crystal salt, understanding that kind of matrix. And then, of course, the Amazon and Peru and the high Andes Mountains of Latin America, Costa Rica, doing a lot of cacao exploring. So it was kind of that stuff that then cultivated this incredible understanding of supply chain, this understanding of what these plants actually are, and then how to use them. And so that was really the first stuff. And then I felt the call to, I have to give these to people.
Mm-hmm.
I have to. And so then by starting my own company and having formulas already kind of dialed in and setting up manufacturing and setting up supply directly, I got approached by Beachbody, and it was just a kind of a fluke serendipity. And at that time, I had spent all my money traveling. I had been doing all this stuff, and I didn't even know how I was going to build this business anymore. And so it was a great opportunity to listen to Carl and Isabel kind of really believe in what they wanted. And that is kind of that discussion of like, can you put all those superfoods or a superfood blend into a convenient shake that would, be easily delivered? And I wasn't just willing to just do that for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
because I already turned down a very big company because they just weren't in alignment with me. And I really believed Isabel, and I really believed Carl, and I do to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So I was willing to put some work into that, and that's how it started back in 2006. I started really digging into the formula, and Isabel and I started really bouncing off the ideas. And I'd disappear to the lab, I'd come back, bounce some more ideas, try to explain how difficult it is to formulate to Carl, which he didn't understand because he didn't come from that world. So it was and without Isabel kind of being the bridge between me and Carl, and really being a catalyst to tell Carl how important this is from a nutritional standpoint, that people require this stuff, it wouldn't have happened. So it was a perfect, we're kind of a three amigos in a certain sense, because from a business standpoint, I had no idea what the hell Beachbody was doing. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know them. All I knew, I didn't do any of their programs. All I knew was what Carl told me and what I felt from Isabel and what I knew they wanted to do. And it felt good to me that I could put all of my growing passion, curiosity, and knowledge into a product that would then be supported by a bigger entity. And I wouldn't have to end up do that part of it myself. I could kind of do my thing. And so that's how it was. That's kind of the birth
Oh,
of
that's so cool.
yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know
So
that what was it? Isabel, I think, was saying, I think when Carl they were having that initial discussion, at least according to Isabel, she was like, no, we don't want to do this, you're going to screw it up.
exactly.
And so to see, to actually be able to do what you do best, and to not have anybody mess with that and say, okay, now we've got your formula, we're going to tweak it, and just to keep the integrity of the product and
Yeah.
evolve it over this time.
Exactly.
I find it amazing. I know for me, I've been doing meal replacement shakes for a while during the P90X days and stuff. And so, it was kind of like, oh, I don't know, another one. But after a week, because I was going to give it a try, I hadn't changed anything in my eating. I'm like, I feel different. I feel better. What is in this stuff? It's the only thing I could point to. And so I was one of the first one, 8.5 years using Shakeology. It's just been amazing. So thank you very much for that. And I think you had more to add to your story there.
Oh, no. I was just reiterating because of the bridge that Isabel created with Carl. She got, before they even really talked to me, she got his promise that he wouldn't undercut this formula,
Uh-huh.
right? And so that promise I could feel, right? It was palpable. And again, the last thing I thought I would be doing is formulating for a bigger company, because they're not kind of in my, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he said this to me. He said, don't worry about the cost. Just do it right, and I'll worry about selling it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, okay. So I'm not going to sit here and try to, well, this is going to cost a lot and this is going to cost. I just did the formula based on where we were at, the industry was at in 2006, based on a zillion bits of information. And I chose out of that space of not worrying about how much it was going to cost. And to this day, it's always been upgraded. It's always never gone down. Now, we may have burned through certain suppliers that haven't been able to grow to our massive growth. There's things that maybe later on they didn't pass an audit, and then we had to move to another ingredient that had similar aspects, but we never went down. We always went sideways or up. And that's what we're constantly, the quality control team now and the research and development team now that we have is hundreds of people. And those people then are traveling around the world to hands-on and audit facilities and look at these processes and test these things to make sure that we're not getting exposed to unnecessary toxins, of course, and that we're getting the active compounds that are in these botanicals in the way that we need to. So the eyes and ears that are now on the team are huge. We wouldn't be able to be here if we didn't have this massive, very smart research and development team and quality control. There's no way I could do it. There's no way Isabel could do it. There's no way Carl could do it. So, we have a huge group of support now at the company to be able to move this monster forward and always improve on it.
I had no idea it was that many people. I wondered how you guys stayed on top of it. And I'm sure there's an incredible documentary being made besides the ones of your incredible travels. Because so once we've got all these ingredients and we're bringing them to a facility to combine them, what is that like there? From what I heard from Isabel, she's like there a lot. You probably are too. What goes on there? I mean, that you can say.
Yeah, well, it takes a lot for an ingredient to show up. It's been from the corners of the globe, and you have to have very clear quality control standards in place and processing standards in place in order for that green powder, that yellow powder, that when it comes down to some of these things started in their whole food form, some of them are necessary and they're properly water extracted. So you have to, and largely that processing is being done in the countries of origin. So that's why that travel, and they show up and like, hey, this presentation is what we want, and here's our list of things that have to be there in order for us to receive it. And all of the testing that goes on, not only in country, but as they come here, they get quarantined, they get tested again, every single ingredient by our standards. So therefore, when they get to that place where you have to blend them, it's a very careful blend. You're not just throwing powders together. We're also doing alchemical analysis on, will these powders work together? Are some of these fats that are naturally a part of the sacha inchi or the flax or the chia, is that stable, or is there acidities, or what do we need to do in order to balance the formula? And so there's you think about it, sometimes an ingredient, a botanical, has 100, 200, 300, 400 different compounds within it, within its own natural matrix. And then you have an interaction upon another ingredient that has the same amount of micronutrient compounds. So that blend and that understanding and that stability is really important to get. And we have, again, put millions of dollars into testing to make sure that beautiful bag shows up with all of these botanicals that are safe and effective. Yeah. And it's easy to just not understand that. And you expect a company to do all those things, But I promise you, there's not a lot of companies that are going to that level at all.
No.
Right? Because I have been behind the scenes.
I was about ready to say, I bet you've seen some pretty shady practices.
All the time. I mean, I've known people in companies that have been thrown in jail for throwing in ingredients or throwing in a pharmaceutical when it was supposed to be a botanical. Like, it's so gnarly out there. And if you have a company that doesn't have the morality and the ethics behind it and doesn't put profit as the first thing, that is, more importantly, the consequence of a great product, you're just going to have some problems. And if you don't have, you can have a company, company X over here that sees Shakeology and says, hey, I want to create that formula. You could call several commodity traders and they could find those ingredients, but they have no idea the safety, the efficacy, the potency, the toxicity, the microbiological, and the proper use of any of that shit. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that goes on. And there's a lot more than just the glorious, here I'm out in the trees finding the thing, but really the work is not showing up in a country, finding it on a vine. Mm-hmm. That's not the work. No. The work is making that safe and making it scalable and making it effective for hopefully millions of people.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that. So I'm so glad that you explained it, and you explained it in a way that I can understand. So people that are out there buying products, how do you educate in that way? Because a lot of times people will pick up 2 packages, see the word superfoods on them, look at a list and say, this has this has this. It's the same. Why is there this price difference? This is just trying to make money. They're just trying to take the deal. But almost any time when somebody's saying that, they aren't feeling the same thing. They getting the same benefits. But where do you, and I'm sure there's things only so much you can say on a package that falls within the legal guidelines and stuff like that.
Well, you nailed it. And you can easily flip over a comparative ingredient. And yeah, of course, encourage people to do that because that's the starting point. But you don't get this story. Mm-hmm. You don't get this factual understanding of what it is that we're actually doing, mm-hmm. that we're actually showing up, we're actually seeing it, we're actually testing, we're actually sitting behind what it is that we're talking about. And no one can argue with me and no one can argue with our team that we've been there, right? You can't say that I haven't. And you can't say that our teams aren't doing the testing because they are. And we're working with organizations and infrastructures that support healthy dietary supplements and all of that stuff. That's what we care about. And the people that are not in line with that at the company, they just end up not being around. So more and more, we're getting a great group of people that believe in that. So what does an average person do? I'm grateful for Beachbody. I never knew that Shakeology was going to be part of, the sharing process of call it MLM or whatever. I never knew that. Mm-hmm. But in fact, I'm very grateful that it is because it gets me to be able to talk to the customers and their, we call them coaches, but they're customers as well. Yep. I get to talk to you. We get to talk to you. Isabel gets to talk to you and explain what it is that goes on behind that. If you can't start getting that from another company, if they can't start to, of course, everyone's got proprietary information and you can't expect a company to completely do that because it would expose them on so many legal issues. Mm-hmm. But again, no one can argue with my passion, my curiosity, and the fact that we show up, and no one can argue with that. So it's about getting educated as to who you're voting with your dollars with. Okay, do you want to go to Walmart and pick over a product that's trying to copy or whatever? Do you really want to do that with something that you know nothing about?
Mm-hmm.
With something that you're literally just going, well, it's a cost thing. And believe me, I know that cost is a thing. We all want to save money.
Sure.
We all want to do that. But here's my philosophy. Before I had money, before I was an adult, I knew, and it never left me, that skimping on food was a really bad idea. And if you skimp on food and quality and you're going to say, well, conventional farmers markets the same as this, fully transparent permacultural farmers market farmer, if you're going to argue with me that you're going to spend a dollar extra on that permaculture beautiful avocado as opposed to this pesticide sprayed avocado just to save $1, then I'm sorry for you over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is showing up in your body. It is causing problems, and it's just not causing problems when you're sitting down eating that avocado in that moment. But moments added up over time. Time blinks by, man. And if that year blinks, 5 years, 10 years, we're all sitting in the chair of our past choices. So I would say, be frugal, be whatever in the rest of your life. Don't be frugal on the food that you're putting in your body. Be a king and a queen and celebrate health and respect yourself enough to eat really well, eat really good food, and celebrate that, because you don't want to be, it's like pay the farmer or pay the doctor.
Yeah.
Because eventually you'll be spending the last third of your life going up and down in a healthcare system that is never, ever going to heal you of the thing that you went to them for. It will always just keep you trying to get by the medications. Our true healing is in our food. So that's my point of view about good companies, good food. Pay the money if you feel called that this is resonating with you as the truth. If it isn't, there's another person that it will. There's another person that, like, I get questions all the time of people getting bogged down by this one person that they're trying so desperately to convince when that person's already made up their mind.
Yeah.
You have no idea where they're coming from. You have no idea what's going on in their life. They've made up their mind. Move on. Because the more time you're spending trying to convince that person, the more time is being lost getting this incredible opportunity to them that can help them, their life, and so that's what I think.
Wow.
It's a very clear thing. I am grateful that at 47 years old, that I quickly learned at 16 that by doing habits that are healthy would really pay me dividends the years and years that go by. And I can say now at 47, if I could throw on a helmet and go play college football, I would. And I'm as strong and as fit as I was when I was 19, 20.
Man, what a great show. This was episode 1 or part 1 of a 4-part series with Darren. And so stay tuned for future episodes where we're going to talk about being muscular and fit while eating a plant-based diet, being a vegan, living a super life, effects of GMO, and understanding hydration and hidden secrets, not great secrets, of our water. The most nutrient-dense nut that Darren's recently discovered, and 3 simple things that every one of us can do right now to be healthier and have a super life. So I so appreciate Darren for coming on and sharing his insight and expertise. And for more on Darren and the projects he's working on, visit his website at superlife.com. That's SuperLife.com. And also check out his book, SuperLife, The 5 Forces That Will Make You Healthy, Fit, and Eternally Awesome. Love the title of that one. You can get it on Amazon, and I'll include a link in the show notes. So I hope this podcast has helped you. And hey, if you know someone that could benefit, please pass it on. And here's another thing that may help if you're looking to be consistent and just power up your day. Go and download my free guide. It's a Fit Start guide. You can download it at myfitstart.com. And, I'm thinking about creating a free group on Facebook where we can all get in there and power up and conquer our day. So if that's something you'd be interested in, just go ahead and message me or comment below on that. I'm finding out who would like to be a part of that group. I so appreciate you for subscribing and for sharing this show and heading over to iTunes, either on the podcast app or iTunes itself, and giving Power Blast Podcast an honest review and rating so it can reach more people. You absolutely rock, my friend. Remember,
it's never
too late.
Too late.